obviously, watching last night and having a look back this morning, who would have even dreamt that 6-4 would be the scoreline in
a madness,
the third and fourth place game?
A 10-goal quote-unquote thriller, an absolute candy floss
and
of a game
the
of
chances
football
that were missed as well.
Oh, I was looking back over my notes this morning. So I watched the game live, probably stupidly last night, considering my alarm was set for 3:45 this morning or whatever. But I watched it live last night, and I went back over. My notes from when I'm watching a game are often an absolute madness when I read back over them. When I'm like,
are you on little bits of paper or is it a big sheet?
No, I actually, weirdly, I WhatsApp them to myself. So I write them in my phone as I'm watching and as there's breaks in play, etc. And one of the things I wrote is England could have scored 6 in the first half. France could have scored 9 in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a absolute madness of a game of football. But is it one you take in any way seriously?
Well, it's hard to... Could you imagine that game and that result being in the tournament as a semi-final game?
Absolutely not.
That's just not going to happen. So I mean, watching the performance with England against, Argentina, we talked a lot about it yesterday, and what England didn't do. And then we watch the next game and England do everything they should have done, as in the type of players to get into space and run behind the opposition's defence. England done it all the time. It was like, well, you didn't see that once in the last 35 minutes of a game against Argentina. And then every, minute and a half, 2 minutes, you saw someone breaking from, wide areas into space and getting behind, the French back four last night.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, this is a weird place to be at 6 a.m. after I've watched a 10-goal thriller. And there's a lot of people are going to sit here and talk about what a joy and how entertaining it was. And, I'm sure all the casual fans who have come to football for the World Cup, the people who have watched, 7 to 10 games, all the new fans in America will have watched that and been absolutely thrilled by it. I was just pretty angry after it all.
Some people will be. I mean, there'll be, if we want to, dissect it to a degree of, how did Rice play so well last night?
How did he play for 100+ minutes?
Okay.
And play so well?
And then you've got Saka, who really, no part against Argentina. And then watching Saka be really lively, look like wanting the ball. Even before he scored, he scored a goal that was chalked off. And there were others. And I was confused by... And look, I get it. There is not the same amount of pressure on a World Cup semi-final as there is in a knockout third and fourth place game. There's just not even. They're not even comparable. So you have to take that into
Isn't that part of the problem though, Cass? Isn't the fact that England can show that much endeavour, that much front foot?
Well, how much
have 6 players attacking the box, have Declan Rice making those driving runs, have all of that brilliant football because the pressure's off.
Okay.
And then after the game, Bukayo Saka turns around to Faye and says, as a group, that's what we deserved to finish the tournament strong. Listen, we'll get more into it. Let's hear how it sounded last night as we asked the question, has this been a successful campaign for Thomas Tuchel's side on talkSPORT?
If second is nowhere, then how should we feel about the possibility of finishing third?
No one can understand what it takes to play again 72 hours after that defeat.
Declan Rice cuts it out now, drives forward, hits the corner! Oh, what a goal! And they're ahead within 3 minutes.
And the perfect start for England.
Eze now plays it forward to Saka! 4-0! This is absolutely incredible.
England have been absolutely first class.
Everyone's still trying to process what happened the other night, and the team with the best mentality won today.
Still that we have a next level to reach.
Now Dembele finding Mbappe, and Mbappe drives it low and he scored. 4-0 has become 4-3. Double figures for Mbappe at this World Cup.
And they are putting on a show in this second 45 minutes, France.
Just been told there's only 4 players for England that have scored a hat-trick at a World Cup, so that's definitely something I can be proud of.
This for the hat-trick. Bukayo Saka will step up and hit this. Left-footed, and he scores!
Yeah, it makes me very proud. I'm happy with myself to achieve that today.
Brilliant from Bellingham. Oh, wonderful from Jude Bellingham. That is why he is one of the best in the world.
What a tournament that young man has had.
France 4, England 6. And Bellingham has the final word.
What an absolutely bizarre 90 minutes of football that turned out to be. 100+ minutes in the end, with Jude Bellingham's goal coming in the 98th minute to make it 6-4. 6-4 to England. If you're just waking up this morning, you don't need to clear your ears out. You don't need to make sure you've had your coffee. I did say that. The game finished 6-4 to England. And I was left questioning, Tony, am I watching a World Cup game or am I watching Soccer Aid?
I know what you mean. I mean, I'll tell you one thing would have stood out for me as well. What on earth would it have been like being in the French dressing room at half-time with Didier Deschamps, who was just witnessed his team, who were absolute favourites to win the tournament and showed it in up until they played Spain. That they're the reason why everyone had to beat them. Whoever beat them, I always said, will win the World Cup. Okay, that a lot of people would have felt that way. But Deschamps must have been absolutely furious.
Apoplectic.
Because he would have, he'd have been shell-shocked like the team were. But how can they be so passive in the game? 4-0 at half time.
Honestly, they were, as much as I was impressed with what England did and a little bit enraged with what England did in the first half, because I'm sitting there going, where was that for 35 minutes against Argentina after we scored? They were truly dreadful in that first half, like embarrassingly bad. And, if I was a French fan, I'd be raging if this game really meant anything, in the same way that I'm kind of... Like, this was meant to be the farewell to Didier Deschamps. This was meant to be like sending him off into the sunset. You started Kylian Mbappe in the hope that he could add to the Golden Boot. He ends up doing that in the second half. But 4 changes at half-time for the French. He's obviously given them a right kicking. And what I end up feeling like as an England fan is, all right, for all that endeavour and all that excitement in the first half, if France played from minute 0 the way that they played in that first 25 minutes of the second half, are we losing that game 6 or 7-0? Because they were so good when they came back out.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of awful defending in the game. There really was. And that includes England. And England were very comfortable up until half-time. Second half, they were being run ragged, by the French attack, which they're capable of. So it's a really strange way to end a tournament. And does it mask over all the other issues? England, as Declan Rice said, and have been the 3rd best team in the tournament. They've ended up 3rd. I tell you one thing gripes me as well, Will, I don't know what you think about this. The fact that Mbappe now will probably win the Golden Boot in this game that was literally like a basketball match. And you can go, okay, it's a meaningless game as in you've been knocked out.
100%.
And you're now going to win the Golden Boot. I mean, it's not a definite, but he's very likely now wins the Golden Boot.
And to be clear on this, and I think a lot of people will have heard how we talked about the 3rd place playoff yesterday. Worst game in football, absolute joke. Nobody wants to play in it. And they'll have seen the quality of the game last night, and they'll wonder if we're eating our words. I feel no differently about a 3rd place playoff. I still think that the fact the winner of that game gets an extra £2 million in prize money from FIFA, I still think you just split that money 50-50 and let everyone go home after they've lost the semi-final. I still would much rather that's the approach going forward, just because we had a really fun, entertaining game last night, just because I had a couple of hours where I got to see some great attacking football and I got to have a fun time. It doesn't mean that I suddenly think that that's a game of football that should exist beyond this tournament, because I've never been a fan of it and I'm still not. It was fun last night, but it's still meaningless and it's still just a start. Like, let me ask, how did you feel when you saw the team selection come out? No Harry Kane, no Jude Bellingham, but Declan Rice starting, Bukayo Saka starting. Those two end up getting the full 90-plus minutes, the pair of them. 4 behind the striker with only 1 holding midfielder against the French. Like, did you read anything into the way Thomas Tuchel approached the game?
Well, when I saw the lineup, I was shocked and then thought, well, this is a game that really doesn't mean, it doesn't mean enough to put out your best 11, right? Because England didn't put out their best 11.
No.
If he was to choose the team tomorrow, a lot of them players wouldn't even be on the starting sheet, right? So that's where they were. And the French approach was so lackadaisical in the way that they approached it. I mean, they're laughing. I mean, when you come in at half-time, you've got Kylian Mbappe, he's got a big smile on his face. And you might go, well, that's shock. But there was a real lack of effort on the French, and they wouldn't have selected the team they did. Hernandez wouldn't have played it in the game, I don't think, against Bukayo Saka. I mean, he got literally ripped to pieces, Hernandez, left fullback. So it was very weird, but the weirdest thing of all was the result. I could never of a million years would think that game could end 6-4. And to be, brutally honest, it was a game that could have ended even more than 6-4. Could have been a 8-7 or, and tells you everything you need to know. That game wasn't a proper game of football.
England fans are supposedly celebrating winning a bronze medal at the World Cup. Now, third place, best England finish since 1966.
Yeah.
That's what they want to sell to us. That's what they talked about in the press conference. Bukayo Saka comes out and tells talkSPORT finishing the tournament strong was what they deserved as a group, and that they believed they should have gone all the way. And I listened to that, and I watched that first half last night, and I saw how brilliant we were going forward. How on that Declan Rice goal, he picks the loose ball up, pass up from Doué, drives, there are 6 players around him, and it hits that pure strike. How he delivers his best cross of the entire World Cup, his best corner of the whole World Cup, in a third-place playoff. A brilliant second goal. The third goal, I mean, it was everything we wanted against Argentina on that third goal. It was pace, it was power, it was running from deep. It was 2 players not panicking when they got in the box. On the fourth goal, Tony makes a brilliant move inside. Saka coming from outside to in, makes the run, great pass, great finish. I'm sitting here going, this is amazing, this is brilliant. Where was this on Wednesday? Where on earth was this when we needed it? And Anthony Barry got all emotional at halftime, talking about how brilliant the players were and how brilliant the performance was.
You have to be careful of, England got a great result last night. Why I said it wasn't a proper football game is because I played over 700 times in my career and never played in the 6-4. Right? Either way.
It says everything, doesn't it?
Lost 6-4, won 6-4. Never had a 6-4 game. Okay? And I was immediately thinking that, when I'm watching it. And like we said, it could have been even, a bigger scoreline than it was. So that always was at the back of my mind. And the French clearly turned up first half as if it was a practice match.
They treated that first half with absolute contempt. The same contempt I think a lot of us have for the third place playoff as a game in general. And yet I sat watching it and I got annoyed about the lack of endeavour, and I got annoyed that we had been watching this. And I just thought to myself, when the pressure's off and England actually do what Thomas Tuchel promised us we'd do for the last 3 games, take the handbrake off, actually go at a team, play on the front foot, suddenly we look phenomenal.
Well, you can't allow for that because the opposition will never do what the French did. If the French would play tomorrow and it was going to be their strongest lineup and there was a lot of, at stake in the game wouldn't be like that. It just wouldn't. That is just it. I can't relate that to a proper football match.
But it's not a Premier League team playing a non-league team in some pre-season behind closed doors friendly to get players warmed up. These are still world-class players who are in the French international squad who play for top teams across Europe. Like, these aren't jokes of players. And they scored some brilliant goals and they did play brilliantly. Like, 2 things can be true. England can be brilliant and France can be terrible. I'm completely with you. There's no way that if this was the final today that it would end 6-4. Absolutely no chance. But I still got frustrated seeing that level of endeavour from England, that level of getting on the front foot, that level of just freedom that they played with. And it's interesting. So Thomas Tuchel spoke with Faye Carruthers after the game, and he said people have been too negative after the Argentina loss.
The press conference yesterday felt as if we went out in group stage without a win, to be very honest. And 24 hours later, we have the biggest success in 60 years. So to put the low, to take the low not too low and the high not too high is what we try, even like for us and for the team. I think the low and the drama about what happened against Argentina was too low. But listen, that's part of it. The best thing you can do is.
It's so easy to sit in a press conference after that game and say, "Oh, we've had our best finish since 1966." Well, no, we've been to 4 semi-finals and we've lost 4 semi-finals. That's all that matters to me. That's the best finish, not whether you win a third-place playoff or not. How do you feel about him accusing people of being too negative after that performance on Wednesday?
Well, you can make that accusation against other managers. I'm sure Ancelotti went back to Brazil and they how they felt the tournament would have gone for them and other countries. What would have been the reaction when Germany go back to Germany and how poor they were? The Netherlands, Belgium, loads of countries have this issue because it's the intensity is all what makes games. You know, you don't have to be the best team at times. Argentina are not the best team in this tournament, but they've made the final. And they've done it by, you know, digging deep, getting more out of players, having the motivation, just the drive to be a team that will never throw in the towel. That's different. These weren't teams that are going to throw in the towel last night. These were teams that are going, literally, coming in, it's us against you. Right, we'll show what we can do. And the French weren't overly bothered, it didn't seem, until they got in at half time. And the manager, I'm sure, would have said a few choice words.
Put a rocket up them.
Well, certainly, because they came out. That French team weren't the team of the first half.
No, not even close.
Okay, so that you're playing against a completely different French team. Because they were embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Being embarrassed makes you react, and you have to.
How do you feel? Anthony Barry, who has given some great halftime interviews in this tournament, who has been a little bit of a breakout star from an England perspective, has been very forthright and very honest in a lot of those times. His halftime interview at this game, I thought he was going to start crying. He said this. He said, "I'm a little bit emotional. I'm struggling to find the words to describe how proud I am of these players. They're playing this game with broken hearts. I see 11 lads with broken hearts. I've seen them the last 2 days. Broken hearts. They can build a performance like that through playing for England. The team spirit we built the last 7 weeks. It's been a privilege to watch." Now, he's investing a huge amount in a first half of football where France didn't turn up, and saying that, oh, I saw all of the brilliance that I've seen the last 7 weeks in that 45 minutes. And he's getting emotional. He's nearly crying on TV about it. And I looked at it and I went, God, you lot are really, really putting a lot behind what's basically a borderline testimonial when you've just lost a World Cup semi-final. Felt like trying to justify it to me.
Well, look, he's going to say some kind words. He'd have a lot of affection for the players in that group. He'd have worked with them over the period of time, not just in the World Cup, but before that. You know, so he's invested in this team and really believes that they have got something way more. They're not ready yet, and he obviously thinks, like Tuchel, there is another, chance further down the line, whether it's the Euros, and I think he's just backing his players and team and coming out with a real positive attitude. It doesn't tell the whole story. England weren't as good as we know, and they got beaten by a team that just had more than them in Argentina. I get why he's done it.
I don't mind backing the players at all, and I don't mind the post-game press conference backing the players at all. It just felt a little bit
yes,
much at half-time of a friend.
But you can't win this argument, Will. When you've been beaten or you lose in a certain way, the result, it can be so much more if you lose. It's just, but you lost, right? So that argument comes in, and there'll be people who are thinking, words can just like echoing. That's that what you do. You're trying to play it down or big it up, whatever way you want to go. I just think the result determined everything of the reaction we saw from Wednesday to where we are today.